The Singapore Manufacturing Federation is urging more medical devices and electronics firms to expand into the Batam, Bintan, Karimun region. Indonesia developing more industrial parks to support manufacturing activities and improving connectivity between Singapore and Indonesian ports. At a seminar on investing in the region, SMF says these manufacturers will still need to weigh key considerations before they can expand.
We do know that there is sufficient energy, but energy and electrification are two different things. So it's about having enough gas into Batam, but whether or not you get it in your grid. So grid reliability is different for different parts of Batam. So it's up to the developer or the manufacturer to understand what are the limitations and constraints for their power and their energy requirements.
The Batam, Bintan, Karimun or BBK region is a 40 to 90-minute ferry ride from Singapore. Located in Indonesia's Riau archipelago, it forms part of the Singapore-Johor-Riau Islands Growth Triangle, or the Sajjori, as an economic development plan first mooted in 1989 by then Deputy Prime Minister Goh Chok Tong. The idea was simple: combine Singapore's management, expertise, technology and infrastructure with the labour, land and natural resources of Johor and the Riau Islands. Over the last 3.5 decades, the concept has evolved in scope and name, but remains relevant today, especially with new initiatives like the Johor-Singapore Special Economic Zone. Today, the BBK region has a designated free trade zone and is home to at least 5 special economic zones, or SEZs, geared towards key industries such as health, electronics and aviation. These zones offer tax incentives, expedited permits and licensing, as well as dedicated infrastructure to attract foreign investment. For businesses, the model is simple and strategic. Set up headquarters and R&D facilities in Singapore to tap its connectivity, talent pool and strong intellectual property laws, and place larger-scale manufacturing and digital operations in BBK, where land, labour and utilities are more cost-efficient. Singapore has been one of the largest investors in the region. It has also been Batam's top foreign investor since 2023. In the first half of 2025, Singapore accounted for 69% of Batam's foreign direct investment at about 617 million Singapore dollars. From all this, we're joined by Ang Yuit. He's president of the Association of Small and Medium Enterprises, and he joins us on Zoom from Sydney. And also with us is Mr. Jeff Seah. He's Business Development Director of Redux, as a company which specialises in e-waste recycling. Thank you for joining us this evening, gentlemen. Let's start with you, Mr. Ang. The Batam, Bintan, Karimun, or the BBK region, has been around for some years now. Why should it appeal at this point to Singapore businesses?
I think if you look at how it's been developing, it's gone from previously as a free trade zone, now into a special economic zone as it evolves. And what it actually means is that it starts to have special uniqueness in various areas. For example, you have Singapore PR being able to access visa-free. You have your digital and high-tech centers, which over the last 10 years have been leveling up in terms of skill. And there's focus around solar manufacturing, green energy. And then, of course, you have maritime and logistics in the sea lane perspective. And all of this, I think, makes it increasingly a very good contender for Singapore businesses that's looking to expand, but yet still want to remain within a 30-minute, 50-minute, or an hour's travel from Singapore.
All right, Mr. Seah, let's bring you in on this. You just heard Mr. Ang there outlining why this region would be a strong contender for businesses like your own. Now, given you specialise in e-waste recycling, why would you consider going to expand in this region?
Being in the recycling industry, resource recovery, we need large spaces. We need a volume of feedstock. So it is mainly the push factor for us to enter into BBK region. And on the pool side, BBK has more industrial land It's lower costs and strong support for industrial growth. Most importantly, we feel that it is because of the close proximity and then we can stay connected.
This is all a work in process. So, Mr. Ang, you just heard Mr. Seah there. He's in a fairly specialized line of business. Is the BBK, do you think, likely to be progressing in a way that meets the needs of businesses like Redux?
I think if you look at the land cost alone, right, and what Mr. Seah was saying, that alone is a big factor, especially for businesses that require a lot of land. And overall, in terms of land costs, in Batam and BBK in general, the land cost is really a lot lower. Of course, the infrastructure development is an area that, on a business-to-business perspective, you've got to assess for yourself. But overall, in terms of energy, in terms of land and labor, there are advantages that Singapore SMEs can tap onto.
All right, but there's several considerations we heard earlier. So cost is one, land, labor, infrastructure, and for your line of work,
yes,
regulation, and two governments being prepared to work together to smooth any potential deadlock, I suppose, in regulation.
If it's up to us for business owner to enter into a new market out of our region, we will have a lot of obstacles along the way. So Enterprise Singapore is here to help us smoothen the process, be it regulatory and negotiations and networking with the Indonesian government over BBK region. So I feel that the strong support is there for Singapore enterprise.
All right, Mr. Ang, if you could be more concrete on that, what kind of support, specifically, for example, on regulation where there may be existing differences?
I think if you look at the intergovernmental negotiations, just like in JSSCZ, the government will be looking at various policies that addresses specific areas that need to be targeted. So whether it's digital, whether it's high tech, whether it's manufacturing, these are all things that the two governments going to work out. And on top of that, you layer on support and help from organizations like Enterprise Singapore that then gives support grants and specialized consulting services to companies that are targeted in this area. These two added together would then help the companies that are in this industry get into the location like BBK a lot easier.
Mr. Seah, earlier, there was an earlier bulletin, I think we heard from you. You said you're looking at expanding 5 times. Is that realistic?
It is realistic. Comparing the land costs and the wage costs over there, whatever we are paying here for Singapore is so much higher. So by scaling up 5 times for land space and manpower, it makes sense. And because there are already feedstock over there, solar farms, data centers, manufacturers. So we see a gap in there, and then we need to be complementary into the ecosystem to close the gap for circular economy.
All right, final question to Mr. Ang there. We keep coming back to this. So constraints for Singapore, for example, on land, on labor, and cost efficiency as well. Why is it important for a country like Singapore, which has its own constraints, to have new links or ecosystems like this one we're looking at right now? Final question to you.
I think, if you look at the expansion, the important thing is that we have the ability to continue to create our economy to be diversified and to have many sectors that makes it resilient. And for that, part of that equation is really about land, having enough space and having that diversity in terms of costs, where companies with different needs can actually move further away as a trade-off, but still leverage on the very fact that you still have the headquarters delivering that value to the Singapore economy. And through that, cost averaging down allows our economy to continue to be robust and diversified. And in this particular instance, especially nowadays, it's so important that we have that level of resilience and that diversity to ensure that we are well shielded away from economic shocks and have a degree of resilience in the economy so that we can still continue to support the various economies and various ecosystems that's needed to keep our economy strong.
Well, thanks for joining us this evening, Mr. Ang Yuit. He's ASME president, and Mr. Jeff Seah of Redux as a company that specialises in the recycling of e-waste.